Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected are doing for you. And then we get surveyed by the income tax department for it. Yes, you heard that right. It's the elephant in the room which needs to be addressed. In case you didn't know, this happened.
Our top focus story this Saturday morning continues to remain the income tax quote-unquote survey that's been conducted at news sites NewsClick and Newslaundry on Friday. The IT department insists on calling it survey and not raids. The tax surveys on the offices of the two web portals were carried out against allegations of tax evasion, according to the IT department. Newslaundry has issued a statement to say that the survey lasted 12 hours and information from private phones was also taken, which is in violation of, well, the fundamental right to privacy.
You know, that day I was just sitting here in the studio recording our Hindi podcast NL Charcha. We were discussing Afghanistan and then Parikshit comes, he came running in and he's like, Ban karo, ban karo. I was like, what is this Talibani behavior, Parikshit? What is happening? And then a man came in behind him and asked for my phone. And I was like, whoa, 1 second. Kya ho raha hai? What is happening? And wo bola ki I'm from the income tax department and I'm taking your phone. I was recording. So I told Atul and our producers, guys, IT department, kuch ho raha hai. Something is happening. I'll just say a line to the listeners. You see, I'm a very dedicated person. I thought I should politely tell our podcast listeners कि मुझे कहीं जाना है, urgent काम आ गया. So I was like, मैं अपने श्रोताओं को बोलना चाहता हूँ. But the man came and snatched my phone away. He took all of us upstairs where all the employees were gathered around Abhinandan and he was sitting holding a piece of paper. Okay. There were like 5-6 officers there who were collecting phones and keeping it on a table. Abhinandan asked, so you're telling me that I can't talk to my lawyers? Officers were like, no, you can't. Then he asked me, are you categorically telling me that I can't talk to my lawyer or my CA? The officer was like, no, can't talk to anyone. Neither can your employees. So I peeked in to see the paper, the notice in Abhinandan's hand, and at the top of it, it had section 133A written on it. 133A. At that very moment, I thought, this is interesting. I should make an explainer video on this. You heard that right. Today's episode is about income tax surveys. I'm not calling it a raid because that word is not officially used anymore. You see, the income tax department has the power to enter any premises and look at the account books of a business or individual to see if there are any discrepancies. They also have the power to search and seize stuff. You must be a bit confused right now because usually when a news organization gets surveyed, it's all a very hush-hush thing. But at Newslaundry, we don't believe in such a thing. Since you, our subscribers, support us and pay us, we believe that we need to continue giving information which is valuable to you. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Today, I'm going to try and answer two main questions. Number one, under what law can the income tax department conduct a search and survey? Yes, they are two different things. And number two, what are the rights of the people getting searched and surveyed? First up, what does the law say? You see, the IT department has two sections of the Income Tax Act of 1961 to work with. Section 132, which is for search and seizure, and Section 133A, which is to conduct a survey. Let's start with Section 133A, which is what happened to us. Under this, an income tax official can come to a business premises and is entitled to do the following. He can inspect books of accounts and other documents and keep them in custody for a maximum of 15 days if necessary. He can place marks of identification on the documents examined. He can make extracts or copies of the books of accounts or documents. He can ask for information on expenses. He can also take stock of inventory and cash on the premises that is being surveyed and see if it is being reported correctly. Basically, the officer can ask for names of the people that have had dealings with the business. They can ask for property papers, names of partners, their share details, and everything about accounts and finances. This is basically what a survey is, an exercise to gather information and note down discrepancies, if any. There are certain limits to surveys as well, which are a bit of a grey area. For example, the law says that a premises cannot be sealed during a survey and the inspection has to be done during business hours, which is after sunrise and before sundown. But if the survey starts before sundown, the officers have a right to stay till late and complete their thing. In our case, our CEO Abhinandan was not allowed to leave the premises till 12:30 a.m. He was sitting in the grey area for a while, twiddling his thumbs. Yeah. Anyway, now let's come to section 132, which is like an upgraded version of 133A, because this one is more severe and a little complicated. Under this section, if an income tax official has reason to believe that there is something off about a business, they can go in and conduct a search and seizure operation. It's basically like a raid, but I'm not supposed to call it that, so I won't call it a raid. It's a search and seizure operation. Okay. Here, the officers have to prepare beforehand and plan the whole thing out. Their objective is to find stuff within the premises which they suspect to be undeclared, like wads of cash, jewelry, expensive art, etc. So they go in, they look through every nook and cranny of the place, find stuff, and then ask owners whether they have declared these in their account books. If they haven't, they can seize it, take it outside, put it on a table, call the media and say, "Look, what did we find?" No, seriously.
News Anti-Corruption Bureau officials in Telangana have seized cash worth over 1.1 crore rupees.
से लेकर बनियान, जूसर से लेकर वैक्यूम क्लीनर और चप्पल से लेकर हेयर रिबन तक को सोने के सौदागरों ने तस्करी का जरिया बना दिया है।
इसी हड़कंप के बीच खुला एक सीक्रेट खजाना जिसमें दफन थी बेशुमार सोने की ईंटें।
The basic difference between a search and a survey is this. A survey cannot be conducted outside business hours, but a search can start whenever. During a survey, the officers can only enter the registered business premises. But for a search, they can even go to residences, go downs, and any other property related to the business. A survey has to be completed in one go, but a search can be done in piecemeal fashion. The officers can keep coming back to find more stuff. During a survey, the officers are not allowed to take anything other than account books. But during a search, they are allowed to break locks, tear up sofas, and look under the bed in order to find some undeclared, unaccounted for assets. One thing I must add, for a 132 search, an officer needs to form a rational, logical reason to believe before they start an operation. But they don't really need to disclose that reason to anyone. If the operation is challenged in court, the court might ask for the reason, but even there, the IT department is not required to reveal the reason to the person or business they are investigating. It's a bit weird, I know, just live with it. Right, so now you know the difference. All of this is just in case you are a media house that is challenging a government and income tax officials show up at your door. If that happens, you need to ask them which section they are invoking. 132 or 133A. Oh, and if you're a big budget media house that is not challenging the government and doing good news wali smile type things, you don't need to worry.
चलिए अब जीएनटी का स्टूडियो तो अदिति ने आपको दिखा दिया है। अच्छी खबरों की शुरुआत भी हो गई है, तो जीएनटी के साथ आपका पूरा दिन यकीन मानिए बहुत अच्छा बीतने वाला है।
अच्छी बातें सुन लो मेरे भाई, अच्छी बातें सुन लो मेरे भाई।
वैसे big budget वालों, if there is a regime change, you might need this video in the future as well. In case you someday decide to do your jobs and question the government, you know. Bookmark it and keep it handy. Now we move on to the second question. What are the rights of the people getting searched and surveyed? First up, the person being searched has a right to see the warrant of the authorization duly signed and sealed by the issuing authority. It should have the names of the officers conducting the search, the signature of the officer who has authorized it, and a stamp of the department. The person being searched can also ask all the people present to show their ID cards and verify the identity of each member of the search party before the start of the search and at the conclusion of the search to avoid any special 26 type situation, you know.
आप लोग
सीबीआई আপনারা ইনকাম ট্যাক্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট
Ladies present in the premises can insist that their personal search should be done by a lady officer. During a search, the person can demand to have at least 2 respectable and independent residents of the locality as witnesses. This does not apply to surveys though. If the person being searched is a lady, she has a right to withdraw before the search party enters if, according to her personal customs, she does not appear in public. The person being searched has a right to call a medical practitioner in case of an emergency. Children are allowed to go to school after their bags are checked. People on the premises are allowed to have meals at their normal time. The person being searched has a right to have a copy of the Panchnama together with all the annexures and any statement that is used against him by the department. Every person who is examined under section 132 has a right to ensure that the facts so stated by him have been recorded correctly. Meaning, they can demand to see the official statement recorded by the officers and verify if it is correctly noted. The person being searched has a right to demand copies of the documents and books of accounts being seized, entirely or extracts from it. Now, having said all of this, there are some grey areas that need to be addressed, especially about surveys under section 133A. First, the income tax officers can only look at documents and material related to the business they are surveying. They cannot demand for personal information from the person being searched, which is not related to the business. So they cannot ask for passwords for personal phones and computers. That would be a violation of the right to privacy. Second, officials are required to provide a hash value for the data that they are copying from the premises. A hash value is a way to ensure that the data that the department is copying remains the same as the one that the business has. If it gets tampered with, the hash value will change and it would not match. Third, and this one is especially for journalists, they do not have to reveal confidential sources or conversations. Remember, the survey is an operation to determine financial wrongdoing. It has nothing to do with the reporter or the work they are doing or the sources they have been talking to for a story. This is applicable to both surveys and searches. Now, before I end this, I have to throw some cold hard facts at you. Every government uses Income Tax Department and Enforcement Directorate as a weapon against dissenters. Elections are coming and you are in the opposition? Survey. You collected donations to do a job that the government didn't do? Survey. You're doing stories that make the government uncomfortable? Survey. It's such a common occurrence now that it has become a joke. Every time we did a story that was hard-hitting, someone would come out of the woodwork and say, haha, good story. Now prepare yourself for a raid. Very funny, guys. It's not a raid, it's a survey. But what is the conviction rate for these searches and seizure operations? Take a look. In the year 2017, the government initiated prosecution for 4,527 cases. They secured 68 convictions. That's a conviction rate of 1.5% only. More recently, in 2019, prosecution commenced for 1,149 cases. They secured 41 convictions. That's a conviction rate of 3% only. So yeah, not all surveys and searches lead to convictions. It's actually really hard to prove in court because these cases end up getting challenged and might take years to resolve, depending on the speed of the courts. Remember, and this is very important, an operation initiated against a person or organization does not indicate that they are guilty. It just means that they are suspects. That's it from me for this episode of Sansad Watch. Remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, you need to watch it first. Even if you get surveyed by the Income Tax Department every once in a while. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode, and also thank you for all the support that you have shown us in the past few days, week, since the thing happened. Also, about the thing, it is now gone to court and my colleague Anna has done a report on it, so you can go and keep a track of it. We will be giving you updates on what is happening in court as well. I also wanted to tell you about TMR, the Media Rumble, our annual conference. It is starting on September 22nd. It will go until 25th. You can go and register here. It's free. You can go and watch all the sessions. There are also some exclusive workshops and master classes that we have for you. You can see all of that in the website link below. And again, thank you for your support, and please subscribe to make news great again.
We, being an independent platform, depend on our readers, viewers and listeners. Support independent media by subscribing to Newslaundry. Go to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button at the top and pay to keep news free.